Hey, what's up, everybody? BDF 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so I wanted to do a therapy session with my wedding cake because I went through a spell here. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I went through a moment where I started to feel really depressed about myself because I wanted to purchase my weed. Now, you guys, if you saw my video a few weeks ago, you saw how frustrated I was with myself because I didn't have it. I was getting to a point where I was, extra manic, feeling as if, I wasn't going to be able to manage without it. But what it did for me, not having it, was a lot of good. I'm going to be completely honest with you, a whole lot of good. Because as I've mentioned several times, when I smoke, I don't have dreams. I'm not able to just remember anything that I dream or even recognize that a dream has been had. It's just rest. Comfortable body rest. And one of the things that I loved doing growing up was sleeping, because I would always have such vivid dreams. Sometimes those dreams would help me with things, sometimes they would allude to things. So I value my dreams, and I had lost that when I was in the midst of smoking as much as I was. Plus, it costs a lot of money to smoke, and as you guys know, my situation, didn't really want to buy any weed at all, or rather probably shouldn't have, is a better way to describe the thought. But it got to a point today where I was just sitting here watching the game, and I was just thinking, you know what, I have the money to buy it at this point, and it's been 2 weeks, and I want to feel what I like to feel, but I also didn't want to give up what I usually have to give up when I smoke. So it's one of those situations for me where it was like, I started to feel real down about myself. I was like, wow, like I ordered it, right? I made the order and then started to feel down, because I'm like, was I not strong enough to not smoke? Was I not strong enough to consider all the things necessary? Obviously, my situation is still as it is. And even though I was given some help from my family, it's still a finite amount. So I need to budget it, and I need to find a way to make more for myself. And I don't really have those plans. I still have things that are going on with my situation that probably would require me not to indulge this way. But at the same time, it's like, on top of that, I miss my weed. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I smoke weed and I enjoy it, and if I didn't have these problems, I probably wouldn't be without it. Now, I have gone through times in my life where I didn't want to smoke, long periods of time. I remember once when I failed a drug test, I told myself I didn't want to smoke for a while, clear that situation up, and I didn't for about a year. And then there was another stint about a year and a half ago when I decided to go about 8 months without smoking, from my mother's birthday till the exact day of 4/20. And during that time, I spent, my sobriety feeling real confident and feel good about it. I really was happy with myself for not smoking. But it came down to it, is like, at the end of the day, I smoke. The problem that I have is I don't ration it properly. I over smoke. I tend to not give myself any limits. I tend to just get to a point where it becomes a problem for myself. So the battle with me was, do I go back down this rabbit hole that's going to do all of these different negative things? And I chose to. But I think what I've learned is, I do want to learn how to discipline myself better in regards to smoking it. I want to smoke till I get to a point where I'm good and not pick it back up. I want to go days at a time where I don't have it and not think about it. Because what I gained in my last week of sobriety as I call it, was the clarity that I valued that too. And that's what I lost when I was smoking regularly. So the balance for me is to smoke when I feel like smoking, and also choose to not want to smoke during the times when I have the weed. And that's going to be the difficulty, I think. Because when I smoke, I generally become addicted. That's not real addiction, because I can turn it off. But at the same time, it's usually a trigger that usually forces me into the mindset of not wanting it, rather than just having it and choosing not to smoke it. That discipline, that lack of control over myself and those urges to smoke, is what I'm looking to develop. to not find myself with it and not being able to, nor to find myself without it when I really want it, like I did today. So I purchased it. I'm happy. I hit it once, and I feel great. I feel like I'm able to articulate myself clearly, which is another thing that was part of it as well, because I felt like my content over the last week was better. I felt like I articulated myself more clearly. I thought that my mind and my words and my thoughts were able to convey over through this camera better during that week period, 2-week period. And I was concerned that maybe my content would kind of fall off if I went down that path again. But at the end of the day, I think with all the negative things that have to do with it, and it was a lot of negative, at the end of the day, I also missed the balance it provided during times when I felt most down. And I think for me, what has gone away was that feeling of everything being down because of the help that was provided by my family. So it became a situation where I don't think that sadness necessarily is there for me anymore. You know, that sadness and that depression that I was going through 2 weeks ago, as I told you guys, all I needed was some help in the financial regard, and the rest of my problems go away, because I find a great deal of peace living the way that I do. It's just that I don't have the money to maintain it. You understand what I'm saying? And so that's what it really comes down to. That's my natural state, is to stay in this confinement and do what it is that I do on this camera and the art and the various things, as you already know. So, I want to continue to be able to do that. But at some point, in budgeting this money, I have to find my way back out there to get what I need to get. And so that's what was depressing me the most. And I think at this point, it's like, okay, I did buy the weed, but as I say all of this, I realize I want to ration it. I want to make it stretch. I want to put myself in a position to where it's not a reoccurring bill every week like it was when I was doing what I was doing regularly. So for myself, it's like, okay, how can I do that? How can I put myself in a position to maintain the desire for that discipline as I go down this rabbit hole of smoking weed again? And even more so, how can I put myself in a position to where not only do I have that discipline, but I'll also have the money to buy it whenever I want it, you know what I mean, without any concern. And so these are different things that I'm trying to figure out going forward. I'm still growing. A lot of this stuff is things that I know I should have figured out many years ago, but I had to get here organically. I think growth is best organic and not forced, and a lot of times growth is forced upon us, and maybe it's best for some, but I think for me, I had to want certain things for myself, and I think that's what I've developed, is a certain desire for discipline, a certain desire for a strength of mind to both have what I want, but to also know when it's best to not indulge in it. And I think if I can develop that discipline right now, when success comes, and I say when because I believe it will in its own form, but when success comes, I'll be able to manage that better, as to where it doesn't become a problem, nor does going without it become something that I have to fall into via some trigger. So that's what I wanted to say, just have myself a therapy session in regards to that. I've enjoyed being sober. I've enjoyed dreaming. And I'm also enjoying this high and speaking to you in this way. I think if you are someone who's wondering if weed is good for you, understand that your mind doesn't necessarily work like mine. So you may not have the experiences I'm having with it. And some of these things may not apply to you. I think a lot of times when people experience drugs or weed or what have you, the way they know how to describe what they think the next person will experience is by telling them what it is that they went through. But what I've learned is being around enough people who've been off the same weed that I've been off, you get totally different experiences from person to person to person. So for anything I can just say, for me, it's something that I enjoy being on depending on what I'm smoking. But most importantly, it's something that I need to discipline myself better in order to properly appreciate. So if you're not a disciplined person, you may want to consider that point of view, because it can be addictive. I'm not going to lie about that. I've seen that in myself and others, so it is what it is, man. It's definitely a bill. Once you go down that rabbit hole and make it consistent, you better have the money to pay for it. That's for damn sure, because you're going to hate being dry. Unless you just choose to not smoke, it's not going to be fun those first couple of days or what have you, depending on how much you're used to. So I assume everybody who watches me has already been through this experience, but you never know. At some point in time, new people discover you. And so I try to make everything I do with that in mind. So with that being said, I thank you all for watching BDF 44. I'm going to probably go try to do something good with this high, maybe do some art or something, and enjoy the rest of my night. I'm definitely happy the Rams won the Super Bowl tonight. That was awesome. Cooper Kupp won the MVP. I think he was deserving, but also would have liked to see Aaron Donald get it because of the fact that he made that last stop at the end. I hear a lot of people talking about the referees. I understand what you're talking about. It's not blind upon me. I saw the officiating was a bit questionable, and I thought, to be honest with you, yeah, it's not crazy to think that the setup was possible. I mean, you don't see this circumstance very often where the Super Bowl is held at the Super Bowl champions building, and then you think about the fact that LA hasn't had Super Bowl in a long time. They just announced that LA's getting the Olympics in 2028, from what I understand. It's just a lot that comes together to make you understand that they really wanted a spotlight put on Los Angeles. And so, could the fix be in? It's likely. But I'm enjoying it. I'm definitely enjoying it. And the bottom line is, these guys fought. Both teams fought hard, regardless of what was going on behind the scenes. At the end of the day, you can't tell me the athletes had anything to do with that, because I don't believe they did, and I don't think most of the time they do. So it is what it is, man. My name is BDF 44. I thank you all for watching.